The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra-biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy, you're invited. Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom. Come on in. Blessings.
I was lost, but now I'm found.
Shalom, shalom.
I'm a child of Israel. I heard the sound. You hear the sound. Please give me the strength to stand today. With my eyes towards the east, show me the way to Zion.
To Zion. Shalom. Shalom.
I'm on my knees, laying my life on the line. I'm begging, please, please don't let me fall. Give me the strength.
Give me the strength.
Place my feet, Lord, guide my path. Show me the way to Zion. I opened up the book and see
Blessings, blessings.
that the apple of your eye included me.
Included me.
And through the tribulation, I know I must stand. For a new heaven, a new earth, show me the way to Zion.
To Zion. Blessings, brothers and sisters. I'm Elder Rawchaa, and we also have Elder Lawya on standby for our weekly Sabbath lesson. May the Most High bless you. May His Spirit head you through Jacob's trouble. Shalom to my brothers and sisters throughout the four corners of the earth. Now, you know how we do this, all right? This channel is currently under a shadow ban, and it's probably forever. So I need your help. Please hit the like button as we all file in for this serious lesson this evening. Behold, the devil shall cast you into prison. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. All praises be to the Most High. Jumping right in because, I'm sorry. We're a little behind the time, so I'll jump right in. First and foremost, I would like to say thanks to my brothers and sisters who are a part of the current Hebrew and Bible Academy that ends tomorrow, week 12. Okay? And I really appreciate all you do to support this work. I really do. I really appreciate you all. Tomorrow we'll be going into a serious lesson Week 12, the judgment of the nations and the revealing of the Antichrist is our week 12 lesson. Okay, so I hope you all are a part of this. I thank you all that's been a part of it. And guess what? We will end this academy revealing some serious information, okay? So we've studied, we've put the materials together. In week 12, we'll be going into the judgment of the nations and revealing the Antichrist will be our last lesson for this particular session, okay? Next week will be your test, okay? Next week will be your test. And of course, I have a whole bag of shirts. Hold on. 1 second. I have a whole bag of shirts like this. T-shirts, hoodies, you name it, that came from the brother who sent these out. Okay, and I'm going to promote it, tomorrow for my brothers and sisters in the academy with the Hebrew flag and all that. I even have flags like this that I'm going to send out that you can hang in your house, in front of your house, whatever you would like to do, as a gift for those who have been in many academies, all right, prior. So I'll be giving out these gifts tomorrow. It's on me. It's on Elder Lawya, myself, and the brother who donated these particular wonderful shirts. T-shirts, hoodies, and all that will be given. I have a whole box of them, folks. And I'm giving every last one of those away tomorrow in the academy as a way of saying, as a way of giving back. None of this would be possible without your continual support for the work. And I humbly, brothers and sisters, thank you all for what you do to support this gathering of Christ Church. Now, of course, for those who have never enrolled, I can't leave you out. So that's right. Starting June 1st, it will begin a new installment of the Hebrew and Bible Academy. Now, temporarily, we'll be cycling some lessons out that you've come accustomed to understanding in every academy. Since the beginning of the academy, the first lesson we've done for every academy has been the creation of the universe. We're cycling that particular lesson out in a few more lessons. Why? The full 12 weeks will be concentrating on, that's right, the beginning and fall of Babylon. History, the understanding of the religious aspect of Babylon, as well as what? Right on your screen, look at it. The theme. The theme. From Babylon, Rome to America will be the theme. So we're going to cycle out a few lessons and add others. So I'm not leaving you out for those who have never been in the academy. Now, eventually we'll put the creation of the universe back in when it comes to later academies, if it be the Most High's will. But folks, we have some brand new lessons coming for you with the academy, with this theme. One of the most impactful lessons we've had since the beginning of this church was this particular lesson, from Babylon, Rome to America. Well, here we are, full circle. In the academy, this is what you can look forward to. New lessons. When we show for the first 15 to 20 minutes who's Edom when it comes to the Edomite lesson in week 4, well, it will be more detailed. The secret war against, the secret war of Edom against Israelites. Instead of week 4, who's Edom? We're going to identify Edom. But one thing we've never delved into altogether was bringing forth the history, showing all the contentions and war Edom have waged against Israelites even until our present time. Okay? I'm not into this back and forth, right, of people claiming that Edom or the Europeans are Japheth. I'm beyond that already. I've studied that already. I teach in the academy exactly how the Edomites left Mount Seir and went into Asia Minor and Europe. From the time of Zepho, the grandson of Esau, all the way to Alexander the Greek, okay, who was from what? Macedonia. A stranger of Macedonia was his father, Philip, where they went into Kittim and spread their evil intent on the earth through the 4 generals of Alexander. So I'm not even going to debate. That's a low-level conversation if someone try to claim that the modern-day Europeans are Japheth. That's a low-level argument. I have the history on that already. Okay? But again, the secret war of Edom against Israelites will be the lesson. The secret war. All the way from the time we were in the womb of our mother, Rebecca. Okay? Up into our present time, even beyond this time, when the final war happens between who? Rome against our Christ. The secret war of Edom against Israelites taught for the first time in full detail within the next academy. Check this out. Instead of going into Daniel the 4 beasts, we'll be focusing with the book of Daniel with a new lesson. The desolation of abomination written in Daniel. What is it? What did he prophesy? Was it just the fall of 70 AD? Or is it something greater? Folks, we're still under that desolation. Okay. The final desolation hasn't happened yet. Why? Well, in 70 AD, they can only concentrate in particular on the southern tribes who were still in Judea. The Most High split the kingdom, and the other 10 tribes were already dispersed throughout the earth. So they couldn't get rid of us all together in 70 AD, or they would have. They would have to create a global net first, get our genetics of the 12 tribes throughout the earth to wage the final war to make sure they could do what? You got it. Make Israel totally extinct after identifying all 12 tribes. So what they couldn't do in 70 AD, well, guess what, folks? We're in the midst of them performing it right now. And it will lead to a total cataclysm on earth between Jacob and Esau. Even for the sake of self-preservation, the Israelites in the earth are going to have to do something different. But if you try to wage carnal warfare against Esau, you're going to lose. You cannot beat Esau without spiritual intervention, without the spiritual side helping. So I'll be going into that. The desolation of abomination written of in Daniel, the full breakdown. We're going to start all the way from Daniel, breaking it down, all the way to what? Christ, the fall of Jerusalem, the fall of America, and the final battle on earth with that lesson. Another lesson we're going to do is the calculation of time. How to calculate time according to the Bible, the secrets of the time. Revisit it. And seriously, folks, we're putting so much detail into this particular academy because we're understanding that soon, we don't know how long they will allow us to actually teach freely with this internet. So we're going to put out everything we can between the academy, our regular lessons, as long as the Most High give us understanding, breath, and the spirit to convey this truth, we'll do so. But in this academy, we're dropping it all. So that even if you don't receive anything after this, you'll have full understanding of what's going on in the earth with these particular 3 months. Because we're going to also be going into the spirit that was carried from the beginning of Babylon even until this present day. It's a spirit. And, I'm going to touch on a little bit of it in this particular lesson. Right? The calculation of time according to the Bible. And there's one more lesson. The war in heaven. The final war. The final battle. It's going to be called Armageddon. The final war in heaven. Armageddon, the final war in heaven, will be the last lesson for the next academy. If you've never been in the academy, you want to be in this one. Okay? And I'm going to tell you something. Even if you don't fully believe everything we teach in this academy, I mean, as far as the doctrine goes, people who believe the doctrine get baptized and become a part of the body. It doesn't mean that what we're teaching, sent by the Almighty, isn't for you. Regardless of what you feel about us, take the information. It's going to benefit your life. It will allow you to go into this book and see what the enemy have hidden from ages and generations from you. And you are entitled to that because what? You're a child of God. Regardless of whether or not, guess what, folks? We're not into this popularity contest about being happy because people are joining us. We're not here for that. I'm going to tell you this right now. We were never in it for that. Okay? We were only in this to please the Almighty and to do His will. And began to set up an administration and or church. What? Because there was a necessity, being that so many people wanted to become a part of what the Most High had us teach. That's the only reason we had to formulate a church. Lay hands and appoint according to what's written in scriptures. A necessity was made based on so many people seeking to become a part of the work, and we just wasn't going to just say, well, no, we're just here teachers. We didn't choose to be leaders. We didn't choose to be teachers. Okay? The titles that were given was based on the necessity with so many people coming to the work and we're seeking to be a part of it. That's what makes a church. Okay, there's no shepherds that are called by the Almighty that sought to be a self-proclaimed leader. It doesn't work that way. Peter was fishing. Peter was fishing when he ran into Christ, him and his brother. He was fishing. Okay? He didn't seek to be a leader or the one whom Christ would set his church on, but Christ seen something in Peter. Moses didn't choose to be a leader to lead our people out of Egypt. He didn't choose that. Okay? The Most High showed him and sent him back and chose him because he was the meekest of the earth. So anyone that's self-proclaimed and is seeking self-admiration or recognition, that's not a leader. It happens organically without one trying when you're called to do a work by the Almighty. So again, we're going to put everything we can into the next 3 months, and I hope you all become a part of this. We're going to have the history books there for you, the research there for you, and even if you're not part of the church, that's fine. Benefit from what the Most High have given us to give you. Benefit from it. Right? June 1st, we're in open enrollment right now. Go to historytimes.org to enroll. Okay? There's no need to send extra emails, whatever the case is. You enroll, a response will come back to you. Let's go June 1st. Again, let me just roll out all four for you. And if the Most High inspire us to add another lesson between now and June 1st, that will be announced. But right now, I really want to focus on the secret war of Edom against Israelites, the desolation of abomination, how to calculate time according to God, the Bible, and I can't wait for this lesson, Armageddon, the final war in heaven. Enroll. All right. Historytimes.org. Shalom. How you doing, Elder Lawya?
Shabbat Shalom, sir. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Well, I think I'm finally recovered from the trip from overseas. I'm gonna tell you that jet lag is real. You know, I was running. Sometimes you feel totally energized and think that you're over it, and then your body just crashes.
Right. I've been dealing with the same thing, so I think I'm just about there as well. So all praise be to the Most High for that.
Well, Elder Lawya, this is going to be, I took some time. I'm sorry that I was a little late, but I took some time because I wanted to make sure that I would deliver this lesson in the spirit the Most High gave it to me this morning. Right? And folks, that's how that's how it would be. Okay? That's how it would be. Usually these Sabbath lessons, folks, it's nothing that I thought about studying the night before. Okay? I wake up and the Most High have instilled something in me to teach. Strictly through the Holy Spirit. And today we're going into, behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison. Now, in order to understand why they have built the prison industrial complex, we'll never fully understand it outside of the Bible identifying them using prison as a tool to suppress or destroy the children of Israel. Now, this isn't saying that other people outside of Israel doesn't go to prison. Okay, let's make it clear. The whole concept of prison, listen to me clearly, the whole concept of prison was created in the beginning by our God to judge the disobedient, the fallen ones. Just that when our people began to sin against that God and follow the fallen ones, now it allows what? The evildoers to now take the judgment from them, only to place it on us. Servitude, imprisonment. But Christ stated, you shall know the truth, and the truth makes you free. You must be able to operate in the spirit to understand that there's something well beyond the confines of prison. Even if Satan try to use it as a tool, you can be free from it. And I'm going to talk about that today and more. This is one of those lessons that you would like to come back to. You're going to have to come back to. But first, let's go to what? The original concept of prison. Okay? Well, Elder Lawya, of course, this wasn't the original premise of showing the origin when I spoke with you before the lesson began. But in the spirit, the Most High wanted me to show it. So let's go back
Yes,
to
sir.
that's how it is sometimes.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. So let's go to, if you will, Elder Lawya, real quick. Let's go to Genesis, the 6th chapter.
Yes, sir. Genesis 6:1.
Genesis 6, verse 1. Thank you. You can read it.
Yes, sir. Genesis 6:1. And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair. And they took them wives of all which they chose.
And they took them wives. And they took them wives of all which they chose. The sin of fornication and or adultery began at this time pre-flood. Read.
Yes, sir. 3. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he is also flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years.
This is not speaking of, in particular, the lifespan of man. Even past this particular verse that we read here, you see men and women living past, particularly men, living past 120 years of age. So it's not speaking of the lifespan of a man. What it's speaking of is 120 jubilees before the judgment on those who began evil in the earth. 120 jubilees, jubilees being 50 years, is 6,000 years before the judgment on the sons of God who came down to sleep with the daughters of men, the daughters of Cain. All right. Read.
There were giants in the earth in those days.
And out of this sin came what? Hybrid beings, disobedient children who were called titans and or giants. Hence the reason the Most High had to send the flood. Now through this would be a judgment. The judgment was shown in the Bible. It was given to the disciples, to Peter. Okay, the judgment on these fallen ones. These fallen ones and the spirit of these angels would teach mankind all types of wickedness to disobey the God who would one day judge them. So it's their position to keep the earth under disobedience, because through disobedience, it puts man in a compromised position to only serve, to be used as servants to serve the governments that were established by the fallen ones. Hold this, Elder Lawya, and let's get 2 Peter's.
Yes, sir.
Read 2 Peter 2 and 4.
Yes, sir. 2 Peter 2 and 4. For if God spared not the angels that sinned.
Stop right there. The angels that sinned. What was the sin? When the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they came down and dealt with them and produced Nephilim. So through this comes what? A judgment. Read.
For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell.
To hell, you're going to find, folks, that this was what? The initial premise for what we call prisons on earth. You disobey, there's a judgment. Well, the powers of the world got this from somewhere. Understanding the prison that the Most High made in the earth for the disobedient called hell. Read.
For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness, to be reserved unto judgment.
To be reserved unto judgment. So the 200 angels that came down during the time of Jared are bound. Gateways to hell. So usually when you see pyramids erected around the earth, that's showing you what? That's showing you the exact places, gateways to hell, where these so-called angels were bound. Okay? They are points. Okay, they are points. Gateways into hell. And the governments of this earth know this, folks, but keep the understanding from people concerning those mysteries. 200 came down, and it led to what they taught the men. It led to the Most High flooding the earth. The reason for the flood. So that's why Peter is dropping this. We knew this before the fall of Jerusalem. We understood this. Christ gave the understanding of who and what he's coming back to judge after that time period ticks down to 6,000. See? And for if God spared not the angels that sinned, the sin is Genesis 6. They're lying to you when they claim that angels didn't sleep with women. The Catholic Church brought that false theology out there. The angels can't sleep with women. Liar. Liars. There have been disobedient spirits since the fall of Lucifer. They have choices. They have free will. And because they're so powerful, the Most High had to make a place called Hades to hold them. Based on how powerful they are and were as celestial beings. So he made what? A celestial prison. Hell wasn't originally, that prison wasn't originally made for us. It was made for them. So in turn, because what? They are at odds with our God, they set up prisons to imprison us as a way of indirectly attacking our God. Now, okay, we can't contend against the God of all gods, but we can imprison and destroy his people on earth. They're vulnerable. So in this why Peter wrote this, the 5th verse. Read
Verse
it.
5. And spirit not the old world, but save Noah, the 8th person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly.
This is why the Most High told Noah to build what? An ark for refuge and destroyed the old world. This is why. This, what we're showing you are what? The original concepts of what we see on earth called prisons. Elder Lawya, let's go to the book of Jude.
Yes, sir.
Jude. And let's go down to what? The 6th verse.
Yes, sir. Jude 1 and 6.
Read.
And the angels which kept not their first estate.
Their first estate, they lived in heaven. They lived in heaven. A matter of fact, Elder Lawya, 1 second. Boy, this is big. Elder Lawya, real quick.
Yes, sir.
Most High just gave me this one. We're going to add this lesson in the academy also. A nest above the stars. We can't talk about from Babylon, Rome to America and not show the space program they tried to execute with the Tower of Babel. And we're going to go from that space program all the way to the current space programs of NASA and what? SpaceX with Elon Musk. A nest above the stars. Strictly a lesson talking about the space programs that began in ancient Babylon. You got that?
Yes, sir.
My brother. Let's go back.
Yes, sir. Jude 1 and 6.
Go on.
And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation.
But left their own habitation, which was heaven. Read.
He have reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day.
Unto the judgment of the great day. 6,000 years from when sin came in the earth. That sin began when Satan, Lucifer, as Samuel, created the tree of good and evil to deceive mankind, our father and our mother, Adam and Eve. And that's when it began. That 6,000 years would begin at the sin of Adam all the way into the great day of judgment, which is 120 jubilees, 6,000 years from when sin was introduced in the earth. All of them will be judged. He have reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. Now, some people may say, well, hold up. If it's 6,000 years, we can do the calculation, right? And know exactly when Christ's going to come back, when no man know the day or the hour. But Christ says that he's going to cut that time short. Or what? No flesh would be saved. Satan knows exactly how much time he has. So he kind of figured, well, I'll tell you what, he can't stop our God from destroying him. But there's prophecies that Christ is coming back for a people. He'll just kill the people. So there's no people left for Christ to come back for before that time. And this is why Christ stated that he's going to cut even that 6,000 years short, or none of us would be left. See? That's why you notice strategically, they have plans to inoculate our people in different areas all around the earth. Predominantly our people. They're aiming that towards. But it's deeper than just that. Their medical institutions is also what? DNA banks. So that they can identify, folks, the bloodline of Israel, all 12 tribes, and create bioweapons against them. And I'm not saying something that's conspiratorial. In the book of Jasher, it talks about this. Even in the book of Genesis, it talks about the mixing of plants and animals and all that. What do you think they were using that for? In their science. That's their science. Why do you think in a lot of their inoculations, there's animal byproducts? Well, you're not supposed to mix animals with people. So this is not conspiratorial, folks. We're quantifying it. In a nutshell, we're dropping everything you need to know when it comes to why they created their medical institutions. Primarily in the places where we live is where all their institutions are. And the angels, which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, read,
Ye have reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day.
So we understand that there's angels who are bound and who have been bound since the time of the flood. Since the time of the flood. But the others, and we broke this down in the academy, the celestials were able to hide in caves, and there's a place called Dwarka in India, the dome city underwater, where a lot of them took refuge during the flood. That's where you get the whole concept of the flat earth with the dome over it from. It has nothing to do with the shape of the earth. The dome was made under the water to hold the celestial, a lot of them, until after the flood, and that's where they released themselves from that into the mountains and began their evil again on this side of the flood. Look it up, Dwarka in India. I'm going to tell you, the people in East India, they worship Satan directly. And all those gods pre-flood. They worship Satan. Okay? So when you see the concept of the flat earth, let me go there. I don't want to get too far off the beaten path. But when you see the concept of the flat earth, that's an ancient Asian ideology that came out of the East Indian records. To inadvertently have our people acknowledge and to worship Satan, who was under the dome in India. Dwarka. Okay? And now they have them pressing all up in our zone right now. They're Satanists. Straight out. Why do you think they started bringing yoga and the 64 tenets of yoga into the United States to focus on putting that spirit on women? Do the research on it. Yoga is the enticement of men. The same ideology that came when the daughters of men dealt with the fallen ones, which led to the judgment. So through yoga comes what? The enticement of men, which leads to sin and adultery and fornication. It happened with the original fallen angels who are imprisoned now and the women who enticed them. That's your 64 tenets aimed towards women for yoga. And now we have the whole United States and all the Western world, all the women, even grandmoms, are walking around with yoga pants. And folks, I'm not saying this to convict anyone who dealt with certain things during their ignorance. We're just bringing to light the reason why certain things are introduced to us from one society to the next. It goes way back to the flood. There's nothing new under the sun. What they're doing now is what they did back then, and it led to a final judgment. Let's go back here. Not a final judgment, but it led to a judgment. It was final for them. Read the 6th verse again.
Yes, sir. Jude, verse 6. And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he have reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day.
Unto the judgment of the great day. And then, don't forget, folks, all of this was shown to the disciples. So Christ was able to what? Instill the truth concerning the beginning all the way until what? The coming and the new kingdom. He was able to instill that in his disciples. So to understand what's really going on in the world, geopolitical, scientific, spiritual, whatever you want, you need the Bible to give full understanding to why everything exists, even the political structures, everything. Or you'll only have a piece. And there's nothing wrong, I'm going to tell you folks, there's nothing wrong with you having a piece. At least that's a start, right? But we're here to help you put those pieces together. See? Nothing wrong with you having a piece. But through the Bible, we help you put that puzzle together. Right? To make sense of what? A confused world. Right? All right, Elder Lawyer. Let's go down to the 13th verse.
Yes, sir. Jude, verse number 13. Raging waves of the sea, foaming out of their own shame, wandering stars.
They were what?
Wandering stars.
Wandering stars. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Angels. Right? How do we know this? Folks, even till this day, the pagans secretly worship these fallen angels by calling them and teaching in their colleges about planets. Okay? There is no planet at a certain distance between the earth. It's all a lie. It's all a lie. Why? Because you don't have the evidence to be able to go out there to confirm or to deny what they're telling you in schools. It's all a lie. Really, when they say a planet, it's the worship of one of their gods, one of the fallen ones. You don't believe me? Check this out. I'm going to do this in front of your face. Right? I'm going to type in Jupiter right here. Jupiter. Right? Right there for you. Now, Jupiter is the statue they took out of the pagan temple once Jerusalem fell and placed in the Vatican and claimed it was Peter. When really, when you go to the Vatican and they kiss in so-called Peter's feet, folks, history tells us that was what? A statue of Zeus / Jupiter. that was placed. It was from the Jupiter temple. They placed that particular statue and claimed it was Peter. Check out in the Bible when it talks about Jupiter. Right? When Barnabas and Paul came on the scene, they were what? They were contending against what? The priest. The priest over the city. These priests, I'm going to tell you folks, straight pagan priests worship Jupiter, Mercury, and all of that, right? Well, when you go to Acts 12 and you look at Jupiter, it tell you right now, what? Zeus, Jupiter, Yovi, supreme deity, Jupiter. Not a planet, folks. These are fallen ones. Right? These are fallen ones. Let's go again. Jupiter. Right? Jupiter. You can find this in Acts 19. Jupiter. Sky fallen. Fell down from Jupiter. It breaks down the fallen angels that the Gentiles worship in secret, folks. All through here. Every place you go, it talks about the goddesses, which links into Semiramis when you look at the history of these gods and goddesses, and they hide them claiming they're planets. There's no such thing, folks, the way they've been teaching us of planets. Everything out there that we see above the skies are the celestial beings, angels. The earth stands still, while what? While everything else moves around the earth. The earth isn't spinning. That's a lie. That's a bold-faced lie. And they know it. They know it. So, Elder Lawya, if you will, 1 second, if you will, sir. Let me turn this back to where I had it. And let's end this back. Let's go back in the book of Jude, if you will. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Jude, verse number 13.
1 second. One second. 1 second. One second. Okay, let's read it. Let's go back.
Yes, sir. Jude, verse number 13.
Jude, here's the one. Verse 13. Read it.
Raging waves of the sea, foaming out of their own shame, wandering stars.
Wandering stars.
To whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever.
They will be in prison. They were in prison, and guess what? Who prophesied of these things? These wandering stars. 13. Wandering stars.
Mm-hmm.
Wandering stars. And as you can see, Star, Astereth. Like the goddess Aster or Ashereth, Nimrod's mother. Wandering stars. And when you look at the word wandering, it gives you what? Wandering is planets. See? Wandering is the Greek word planets. A rover. A rover is something that's moving around the earth. Planet. So these are who are over your universities, over the secret societies, still worship these fallen ones, and they make you believe they're talking about in their schools a planet somewhere, when it's really the gods they sacrifice to, the fallen ones, beginning with Satan. Right in front of, and folks, they're doing this right in our faces. Three, wandering stars.
14. And Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these, saying,
Who prophesied? Who prophesied?
Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these, saying.
We can keep it right there. So we know that Enoch prophesied of these. So you don't know about these if you don't know about Enoch. So don't think you can go to any other place on this earth where people are teaching the Bible and get the true understanding of what's going on in the earth, especially those who would have you question what's written of in the Bible concerning Enoch. If they don't believe in the New Testament, ignore them. Okay? They're inconsequential. They can't bust a grape. They don't know nothing. If they're in the New Testament and deny this, they really don't believe the true narrative concerning the origin of evil and really don't understand the true battle we're up against in the spiritual. Enoch prophesied of those. And you don't understand what's going on if you haven't read the book, the number one book of Enoch that was found in the Qumran caves, which confirms everything Christ told the disciples concerning judgment. The angels were in prison. So in turn, they come against God's people to imprison us. See? See how it works? Why? Because their God, Satan, Samael, and others, they call them many names. Our God only have one name. Satan has many. Satan has many names. Our God only have one. Every other God that's worshipped outside of the God Ahia is Satan. Allah, Satan. On and on and on and on we go. And don't claim, well, okay, we can learn so much in these religions. Of course you can. Because Satan is wiser than Daniel. It'll tell you that in the book of Daniel. He don't just teach evil, he teaches good too. But he never leads with the evil and the consequences for evil. He always leads with the benefits and or what's good. That's how he was able to deceive our father and mother. So don't claim just because you're in these religions and receive something good that it isn't from Satan. Satan presents both, but he leads with the benefits so that you can so you can ignore the consequences for when you begin to understand what you're really diving into. Elder Lawya, Isaiah the 14th chapter. And guess what? Let me make it clear. Whether you believe it or not, I'm going to tell you, we could care less whether or not you believe what we're teaching or not. It's true. Because guess what? You're not the verifier of what's true. We're here just to drop it. So this, let me tell you, the knowledge the Most High have us drop it. Of course, it will continually have resistance because it's the information that was hid. And it usually would have a person question the doctrine that was taught to them. And it's not that they can prove what we're teaching here is untrue. It's to why people, ignore it. Okay? A lot of people won't accept it for the same reason they didn't accept it when Christ was on the earth and the disciples were teaching it. Because now they would have to question their education and what they believe. And some people are too proud to say they were lied to. See? None of this can be challenged. You can try to challenge it. You have a right to. But when the Bible says the angels that sinned, don't try to duck and dodge and try to, let me show you that these angels aren't what the Bible says angels are. If you have to do that, you've already lost. Because if you can start switching out words to mean something else when it comes to angels, then we can do that with everything. We can do that with the Israelites now. And say, well, it's not really talking about Israel. It's talking about, and not talking about us as Israel. It's talking about someone else. See?
Or it's the church.
Yeah. Or what? Say it, Elder.
It's not talking about the Israelites. It's talking about the church.
Exactly. You can start cycling out anything through philosophy to fit your argument. Well, like the Christians. Well, when I see Israel here, even though Israelites are written of all through the Bible, great point you're making there, Elder. Now they can say Israel is the church. So when the Bible says the angels that have sinned, these are angels who have sinned. Now it's up to you to understand who these angels are and how does this fit concerning judgment and change what you've been taught. Okay? Learn again, which be the first principles and oracles of the Almighty. And guess what? That's kind of tough for people to do. I know. I was fully indoctrinated. Knowing I was Israel, but realizing that what? When it comes to the doctrine of Christ, people really didn't pay too much attention to that, more so than self-identity according to the Bible. It wasn't, now I have to just believe what these people are saying because they showed me that I was an Israelite. Even though the doctrine was the doctrines are serious hack jobs on the Bible. So if anyone know what one need to do to learn again, I'm the prime example, folks. I was fully indoctrinated as an Israelite. But when I began to read the Bible, I understand that understanding the true depth of this book, you must believe in it all the way and not question what the Bible's saying, even if it conflicts with your teaching. Or your mind is imprisoned. You can only go as far as your so-called teacher who gave you the false information. Now you're limited to his mind. Let me tell you, it takes a lot of humility to realize, you know what? It's not his fault. It's my fault. Because the Bible stated, what? Try the spirit to see if it's of the Most High. A teacher can only teach you the limit to the height to of what he's learned. It is not his fault if you don't examine what they're saying outside of him with the word of God. That's not his fault. The teacher can only give you as much as he can. And that's why, listen, I have no problem with people looking at anything and questioning anything we teach. Go ahead, do it. You're going to find that what you're reading is exactly what we're teaching. And that's it. So we're free to teach the Bible without man's restrictions. So I know what it is to be fully indoctrinated into something, totally confused, not by reading the Bible. What was confusing me is what I was fighting, what I was taught against what I was seeing in the Word of God. And at that point, you'd be like, well, hold up. I know God is real. I know Christ is real. I know the Bible is true. But I'm confused here because everything I read is conflicting with the doctrine I've been taught. It's conflicting. Now, I either go one or two ways. The first way is to say how knowledgeable these guys are with the Bible, and what I'm reading here is so confusing, I'm going to leave the Bible alone altogether and not believe anything. That's the first choice I have. I might as well just go get a job, work, and just live my life and nix this stuff, because if these people don't have the truth, there is no truth after all the lies I've gone through. Christianity, now the Israelites are going to lie to me, and it leads people into unbelief. That's one choice that one might have. Right? And don't think that idea didn't come into my mind. The Christian church lies to me. The Israelites lied to me. I'm like, listen, I don't know what this is. And the Most High was like, he said, listen, you know what the scriptures say. Learn again which be the first oracles of the Almighty. Don't give up on me. You're on a journey. Continue seeking. But you must humble yourself and learn again. So I decided, you know what? I'm never going to be in this place where I'm teaching the Bible and then have to come back and apologize for what I'm teaching. I'm not going to teach again until I know what I'm teaching is from the Almighty. I'm just going to break myself down, humble myself, fast and pray, and ask the Most High to help me see Him. Help me understand this word and not be confused concerning it. So that when I teach, the Most High is true and every man a liar. So I said, you know what? I know I'm Israel. I need to study Christ and the Acts of the Apostles. The truth was given to them. And when that happened, we became free. I became free to say, you know what? I can teach the doctrine and not have to now come back and switch things up. And that's what's hard for so many of these people. They'll see the angels that sin, and they'll see it in the Bible, folks. But it's against the doctrine that they were taught by their teachers. And they can't come to grips with. And another thing, we have to stop taking this posture that the teacher outright lied to us. That's not the case. The teacher gave you to the what? To the length of information he was taught through the theologian seminary classes, or the original Israelites primarily learned from the synagogues. They're limited to their teachers. So it's not that these people intentionally lied to you. They just didn't know. They just didn't know. But there was many facets of their teachings that help you in your daily life to get you to where you would need to do what? Advance your learning. So they were still useful. See? They were still useful. Okay? Now let's get back to this real quick, Elder.
Yes, sir.
Behold, the devil shall put some of you into prison. Let's now go to Lucifer. Right? Let's go to Isaiah. 1 second. Isaiah 14. Let me grab it here. And we'll start at what?
Verse 12.
Verse 12, right here, right? How art thou fallen from heaven?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do it.
Yes, sir. Isaiah 14 and 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning?
Son of the morning. Now they call him son of the morning because Lucifer was one of many of the original stars of heaven, angels, who sang before the Most High each morning. Let's get that in Job, the 38th chapter, real quick, Elder Lawya, if you will.
Yes, sir.
Job 38, using a precept, and let's get it. Where were thou?
Yes, sir. Job 38, verse 4.
Job 38, verse 4, read it.
Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth?
Where was
Declare.
you when I laid the foundations of the earth? In the beginning. This going back to when the earth was created. Read.
Declare if thou hast understanding.
Read.
Verse 7. When the morning stars sang together.
When the what?
When the morning stars sang together.
When the morning stars sang together. Read.
And all the sons of God shouted for joy.
Now, you know why we go here? Because this destroys the theory that the sons of God are what? Strictly the children of God or the Israelites on earth. This has nothing to do with men on earth. How do you know that? Go back to the 4th verse again.
Verse 4. Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth?
Before the Most High laid the foundations of the earth, Guess what, folks? There was no people. Man was the last work done in creation. Okay? Animals and all that was here before man. Even before the animals. It's showing you what? It's giving you the chronology, identifying that the sons of God was in operation before the earth was made. Where was thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding. So what was going on before earth? Now let's read again.
Verse 7. When the morning stars sang together.
Where were they singing at? Before the throne of God, heaven. Read.
And all the sons of God shouted for joy.
Where were they doing this at? In heaven. The sons of God initially were the angels. Lucifer was what? One of many. Christ was even included in this quote unquote, if you will, choir before the throne of God. Lucifer was there also before the fall. Now that we know that this was before earth, no one can now claim when they see the sons of God in Genesis that it's talking about people. Okay? Now, Elder Lawya, if you will, let's go now back to Isaiah the 14th chapter and let's read that again. The 12th verse.
Yes, sir. Isaiah 14, verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning?
Why was he called son of the morning? Because he was Lucifer, the enlightened one in heaven before earth. One of the angels who sang before the Most High every morning, which was one of many of Lucifer's position amongst the celestial. He was also the cherub on the ark in heaven, folks, before the mercy seat of God. The two angels on the ark of the covenant, Lucifer was one of those before he fell. Read. How art thou cut down to the ground? 12.
Salakia trying to come off mute. How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations?
So when it says he weakened the people on earth. Why? He would have to compromise the people on earth whom he was meant to serve after the disobedience. So he'd have to trick us into serving him and the fallen on earth, which has weakened us, have disconnected us from the God who made us all. Why did he need servants? So that we can dig the ground and create and create inventions for him that would lead to what? The programs that will allow him to escape the judgment by leaving the prison he's been confided to, which is earth. Which is earth. Earth had become Satan's prison until his final prison. Read the 13th verse.
Yes, sir. 13. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God.
He promised he promised when he was judged that he would one day go back. The space programs. I'm going to cover that in the next academy. Read.
I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north.
The
will
mount,
ascend
the
up-
mount of the congregation is the mount of God, the celestial realm where Lucifer was once a part of. He's stating that what? I'm going to use people, I'm going to break them and disconnect them from their God, have them worship me, and have the people, the governments of the earth and the kings, have them put their own children in servitude to rake the earth for me so that we can get the technology to get out of here before the final judgment. But he had to weaken the nations. How did he do that? He began to turn people against one another. Divide and conquer. See? And by doing so, now he can break down and have their children for sacrifice, as well as what? Servants to help him build his tower. To get back out. Why do you think the majority of scientists and all these others, the intelligence of our earth and academia, the majority of them are atheists who loathe the God who made us? They're taught in science not to believe in our God because our God, and they know this, not a lot of them, but a lot of them know this, our God will one day judge the God they serve. So this is why the majority of those in science and claim to be intelligent, a lot of them sometimes don't even realize why they have this negative view of the Bible. Well, it's because you've been indoctrinated into Satan's religion. See? And through his religion, you must hate the God of the Bible, because the God of the Bible is the God that can actually identify everything in the earth, including the God you serve, who will be judged according to the word. I will sit upon the mount of the congregation, Lucifer vowed when he left the heavenly realm. Read.
I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High.
I will be like the Most High. So he promised to go back out in space. But what is the judgment for him? Read.
15. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit.
He will be bound like the other angels were bound before the flood. This is a judgment. See? And guess who's going to bind him? Christ. So they know the prophecies. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. Folks, this is the first references in the scriptures concerning prison. It's used for judgment. It's used for judgment. So now Satan will set up what? Satan now will set up a system in the earth, knowing that prison was initially for him and the fallen ones, but they'll use it as what? They'll use it as a tool to destroy God's people, to put them into servitude. Folks, that's what they're going to use their prisons for. That's what they've always used them for. Elder Lawyer, now let's go back and show you some examples of what was used even back in ancient times to imprison the righteous, aimed towards coming against God's people. Elder Lawyer, let's go into Egypt real quick. Genesis, what's that, the 39th chapter?
Yes, sir.
Let's go into Egypt. Genesis, the 39th chapter. Let's read it.
Yes, sir. Genesis 39 and 1. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hands.
So here it is. Joseph out of nowhere is in the house of Potiphar, right? And now Potiphar is getting blessed, his home, everything beyond belief. And he know it's because of this Hebrew who's living in his home. Read.
4. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer of his house, and all that he had he put into his hand. And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had, save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored.
Well favored. It tells you in the book of Jasher that Joseph was the best. Not only was not only was he the smartest man in Egypt, he was the best looking man throughout all of the land of Egypt. All the women desired Joseph. Even Potiphar's wife. Read.
7. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, Lie with me.
Lie with me, Joseph. Joseph. Folks, in the book of Jasher, this woman was obsessed with Joseph to a point where she started going to seers, trying to get potions, all these things, she went to actually deal with mediums to have a spirit of love fall on Joseph to see her desirable. This woman was out of her mind in love with Joseph. Potiphar's wife. But he what?
Verse 8, but he refused.
And not only that,
And
she was a very beautiful woman. So every time her husband went on trips or whatever the case is, she's coming into the room ready to go with revealing clothing and all of that. But he's like, man, I can't do this. Read.
But he refused, and said unto his master's wife, Behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath to my hand.
So here it is.
There is no...
Joseph is the master or the manager of everything in Potiphar's house. He rules the servants that are there. He rules everything. He's the manager. Read.
9. There is none greater in this house than I. Neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? And it came to pass as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her to lie by her or to be with her.
Now you notice, listen folks, what's being sent in. And this, folks, let me tell you, this is going to dovetail going into the lesson, Mystery Babylon, the mother of harlots, Satan's secret weapon. Because she could do this knowing what? There is no consequence for her doing this. It's a win-win for her, and it's a loss for Joseph. Why? If he comply, now he's in trouble with his God, Joseph is. And he's still in trouble because if it's found out, she's going to lie and claim he took her against her will. So either way, she can't lose because what? There isn't a consequence for her lying. So if Joseph deal with the woman, he's in trouble with his God, and there's still a chance she'll turn on him, which will lead to capital punishment. This spirit have gone from Eve all the way throughout society into our current society. And I'm going to talk about that in the academy. Babylon the Great, the mystery of the woman, the great whore that sitteth on many waters, is a spirit. It's a spirit that has been hid since the beginning. A spirit in a woman that's insatiable, knowing that at the end of it, there's no consequences for her wicked lies. The only thing she would have to do is claim victim. And it came to pass, as she spoke to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her to lie with her or to be with her. Read.
11. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within.
To do his business is no different than him being in the office. Like just say, if you're working in a corporate office, right? And someone is always coming into your lane to have you compromise your position. Only for when it's found out, someone can claim, when things doesn't work out like she wanted to, she can claim sexual harassment.
Mm-hmm.
See? There's nothing new under the sun. Because there's no consequences for her lying when it doesn't turn out like she thought it would. It's a weapon that can be used at any time. Because there's no judgment for it. And Satan wouldn't have it any other way. Because what he needs a built-in weapon against his judge from one generation to the next. The harlot that sit on many waters. And guess what? It began in the garden. The 12th verse.
And she caught him by his garment, saying, Lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. And it came to pass when she had saw he had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth, that she called unto the men of her house and spake unto them, saying, See, he hath brought in an Hebrew unto us to mock us.
Now listen to this. Now she's doing what? She's accusing her husband, who did nothing wrong. Right? Look at this man my husband had brought into my house, compromising me. She can play blame. She can put blame on either side without any consequences. Joseph did nothing wrong. Her husband did nothing wrong. And she's blaming them both. Huh? Look at this man he brought up in here. Read.
He came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice.
He tried
15.
He tried to sleep with me. Lying. And why would she lie? Because she can. There were no consequences. She's the weaker vessel. She's the victim here, right? So now she leaves no choice for her husband but to do what? The husband must stand for the protection of his wife. The whole thing can burn down. The relationship that her husband has with Joseph, the blessings that was coming into the home, everything could crumble to the ground and she could care less. Why? Because she didn't get her way. Because she didn't get her way, the whole thing burns to the ground. And then when it all burns to the ground, she'll have a built-in excuse that makes her blameless, claiming it was both of those men's fault. See how it works? Mystery Babylon, the mother of harlots, and she sit on many waters. This woman was evil, an adulteress, a sinner. But she knew, that's right, she knew the power she had as a weaker vessel. But she can use that power to take down both men if she wanted to. Read it.
15. And it came to pass when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled and got him out.
Read.
And she laid up his garment by her until his Lord came home. And she spake unto him according to these words, saying, the Hebrew servant which thou hast brought unto us came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled out. And it came to pass when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, after this manner did thy servant to me, that his wrath was kindled.
So now,
now
a man who was once a friend and put Joseph over everything have now become his enemy. He's infuriated against this honorable man based on the words of his loving wife. So he has to defend his manhood at this point. Read.
20. And Joseph's master took him and put him into prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in the prison.
And he was there in the prison. Case closed. Locked up through a false accusation. The woman can be a harlot. The woman can be evil. The woman can do all these things, but just cry victim. Okay? All that she have to say is that it happened. Okay? A person is arrested, and then they begin to weigh whether or not what she said was true. It will be used throughout all the ages to do what? To keep man from ever rising to his full purpose. A social weapon that's baked into society. Right? Follow what I'm showing here. And you know what's a shame about this? How the virtuous women and the good women who know this exists, I'm going to tell you, they are indirectly negatively affected. And are shamed for not being like that. And that's a shame, because now the negative spirit automatically rub on those who doesn't deserve it as good women. And that's the shame about this. Again, it leads to what? The Most High put a man in Egypt that will change everything, being revered above all men in Egypt as an outsider. And Satan see this man as a threat, knowing that he's from the bloodline, to judge him and say, you know what? I need to rival this person at all costs before he become Prince of Egypt. Because the same God who chose Joseph promised to destroy and imprison me imprison me upon the arrival concerning the prophetic judgment. So I must have a mechanism in place to stop the righteous from ever getting to a degree or a point where they can oppose and or judge the wickedness in this earth. And become what? And become a person or become prominent enough to disrupt the governments I've established to get back up into heaven. They will become political disruptors. He has a plan, weaken the nations through confusion, to be utilized to use our people and use the earth to do his bidding. But every time those pesky Israelites come into play, they disrupt my plan. So I have to find a way from one generation to the next to throw them in prison. Right? So I have to figure out new nuances without telling them why we actually concentrate and focus on their children from one generation to the next. We can't let them know we are imprisoning them because we fear their power. We fear the God that's in them, like with Moses, like Joseph, like Jeremiah, who was thrown into prison, like Daniel, who was thrown into the lion's den. You could never tell them that we set up the industrial prison complex to stop the rise of the sons of God on this side, the children of Israel. Hold tight, hit the like button, because I'm about to show a few examples and what they're planning with the prison complex next. Hold tight. The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that he used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy, you're invited. Yes, the Hebrew and Bible Academy, brothers and sisters, you all are invited. Do me a favor. It seems as if we are about 500 likes down. So do me a favor real quick. Do me a favor real quick and hit the like button if you haven't so far. We are about to dive in and give you a few examples historically concerning why there's a continual focus on imprisoning the children of Israel and what are they cooking up next in the earth concerning their prison complex. So do us a favor real quick. I'm going to start once I see 300 more likes. I'm going to pick up and show some examples, but I need to get this up 300 more likes, and then we'll dive in with the second part of the lesson. Help us out if you haven't already. Just hit the like button for me. Okay? If you haven't already, just 300 more and I'll start. There's a shadow ban, folks. I hate to do it, but YouTube is doing everything to stop those out there from finding this channel. Y'all doing a great job. Okay. We're up about 200 more. Just give it 200 more and we can begin the second part. Just hit the like button. You're almost there. Thank you. A great job. We're almost there. We're at what? 120 more. That's it. Thank you. 120. Hit the like button if you haven't already. And we'll jump right in. While I'm doing that, let me announce real quick again. The next installment of the Hebrew and Bible Academy starts June 1st. Okay. The main theme of this particular academy will be from Babylon, Rome to America. Okay? From Babylon, Rome to America, for those who didn't see this from the beginning. We will have the theme from a lesson we've done, years ago. Okay? From the beginning of this ministry, titled From Babylon, Rome to America. We're going to have 4 new lessons. We're not going to include the creation of the universe. We're going to start with Babylon, the Tower of Babel, with this lesson. And the 4 lessons in particular we're going to break down is the secret war of Edom against Israelites, the desolation of abomination, the calculation of time according to the Bible, and Armageddon, the final war in heaven. Okay? We're going to also break down the secret religion of Babylon at the tower. We're going to start there, week 1 at the Tower of Babel. And we're going to show you how that spirit moved from ancient times all the way up into our present time. Okay? So if this interests you, go to historytimes.org, and thank you for hitting the like button. Elder Lawya, let's jump right in. Go to historytimes.org to enroll. Now, picking up from where we left, Elder Lawya, as you can see, brothers and sisters, prison was originally a concept created in the heavens to judge the fallen ones, the disobedient, who came from the heavens, disobeyed God, and began to teach mankind to disobey the same God who will soon judge them. Right? So let's give some instances of why they set up prison. Now, let me make it clear. There have always been some level of reprimand when it comes to judging the criminals within our societies. So I'm not saying all in all that prison is wrong. There's some people who deserve to be separated from the population, okay? Who seek to scam, kill, steal, and cause all types of disruptions to where society wouldn't be able to flow properly if these people continue. So we're not saying that prison in of itself is wrong, right? There's some people who belong separated, and it so happens that, you know, the majority of societies have created these places so that they can actually benefit off of slave labor. Now, the contrast of what the prison complex have become, right, I believe was a better system that he gave the Hebrews, right? The Hebrews had a better system. The Israelites in particular had a better system. The system was, right, back then, if you murder someone, the greatest deterrent for murdering someone is to know you're not going to live after that. So you are in turn killing yourself. If you murder someone unjustly and it's proven you murdered them, the end of the story. It's done. Right? If you steal from someone, there were civil laws put in place to indemnify the victim, as well as extra payment for stealing against a person. Okay, so there were deterrents in place. If there were undecided cases of murder in others, so that the family couldn't become vigilantes to take matters into their own hands, there was a city of refuge where it wasn't this, this inhumane place that they'll hold you until the cause had been settled. The place of refuge was a nice place you would go to be protected. It was like a witness protection program. They'll keep you there until what? Until the hotheads cool off and a judgment could be made without the family becoming vigilante. Because usually the first day when someone kills your loved one, you're seeking judgment that day. Like that brother we heard about a few days ago, where the cops unjustly killed an 18-year-old boy, left a gun next to him to frame him, to claim that he was actually trying to kill the cops, which was a lie, only for the father the next day, this brother, to run his car into a police and kill the police. That's vigilante. So in our law, we had a city of refuge to stop such cases. Whether the person did it or not, there was a place of refuge until everything cooled down and the family knew that the Levites and the priesthood would seek righteous judgment. And that eventually judgment would be made to show the earth that there is a society of righteousness when it comes to proper judgment. If someone touched a child or molested a child or whatever the case is, guess what? There was no need for rehabilitation. There was, according to the law, there was no need for someone to claim that they are dealing with childhood trauma and and is seeking help now. Well, no. You harm a child, you're out of here. Right? With what? A pile of stones where you once stood, which was one of the greatest deterrents for hurting a child. You hurt a child, you out of here. And now people know, well, if you try to hurt a child or molest a child, you're done. So we had the best justice system in the earth opposed to the Gentiles. See? Opposed to the Gentiles. There was no thing of having torture chambers and all that to get evidence out of people, to get somebody to admit they're right or wrong and all that. That whole concept is hell concept on earth. Torturing people. Where did Satan get that from? He got that from the concept of hell. Going to a place where you can be physically compromised, where lesbians will force women who they know who aren't gay to lay with them. Men will forcefully rape other men in prison. That whole concept is hell, where there's no law. Where there's no law. That's not justice. That's not justice. So let's talk about it now. I really appreciate y'all hitting the like button. Now let's go into it. They wanted to set up prison. They even put Christ in prison. Elder Lawya, let's go to where they put Christ in prison. I showed one example how they would use women as a tool. That at any time, if they don't get the outcome they want, they can cry victim and the man goes to prison. Satan loves it that way. Satan loves it that way. He set that thing up like that from the beginning. So that he can have what? A secret weapon at the hip that can be utilized at any time to oppose the men in particular who were born to oppose him. See? And folks, hence the whole idea they created brothels for, or harlot houses for. Now, I don't want to go down this full diatribe because I'm going to handle this in the academy. The mother of harlots that sit on many waters. Folks, do you know what the Gentiles created harlot houses for? Huh? They created harlot houses to use these places, folks, to use these places for political tools against their enemies. If they get a brothel or a whorehouse, usually it was an attachment to the government and all of that. Because these women would come in and entertain some of what? The king's social connections on the outside of the country. When they come in to be entertained, they would bring in the brothel women. See, but what's deep about this, but through the brothel women, they was able to do many things. You would have what? You would have pillow talk to understand the weaknesses of the other kings and princes who had political influence outside of your country. So you would get information. On top of getting information, right? If they needed to take a person out who would oppose the king, she would be used for that too. See? Setting him up. Right? If she was to get impregnated by one of these, now, and others, now, blackmail could come into play to have this politician or someone who would oppose you align themselves with your power and or policies against your own government. The brothels were also used as women spies to give the women to your enemies to report back to the kingdom. And at any time, if someone gets out of line with government, you can have that same woman feign victim that's a harlot to take a powerful man down. Only but through an accusation. Only through an accusation. Elder Lawya, now let's go to the righteous side. How if you have one who opposes the kingdom righteously, guess what? They have your own people false accuse you to only be imprisoned. With the whole cause of imprisoning people based on their political threat to society. Right? Let's get it real quick, Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir. The book of St. Matthew 26 and 55.
St. Matthew what?
26 and 55.
Matthew 22, verse 22 what?
26 and 50.
26.
26?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And 55.
Thank you. Yeah, let's read that.
Yes, sir. In that same hour said Yeshua to the multitudes, are ye come out as against a thief with swords and staves for to take me? I sat daily with you teaching in the temple, and ye lay no hold on me.
He was just
but
teaching.
All this was...
Check it out. Check it out, folks. He says, are you come out against a thief with swords and staves for to take me? Christ. Before they crucified him. He says, I sat daily with you teaching in the temple. You just seen me the other day. And you laid no hold on me. So am I truly guilty of anything right now? Read.
But all this was done that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled.
What is that?
Then all the...
Go ahead, Elder.
Yes, sir. Then all the disciples forsook him and fled. 57. And they that laid hold on Yeshua led him away to Caiaphas the high priest, where the scribes and the elders were assembled. But Peter followed him afar off unto the high priest's palace, and went in and sat with the servants to see the end. Now the chief priests and elders and all the council sought false witness against Yeshua to put him to death.
So now even his own people are lying. So to put Christ to death, folks. Knowing the capital punishment and knowing the cruel tortures that come with what? Roman so-called justice. Understand this. So here it is for the innocent. They'll use what? They'll use your own people to bear false witness against you. Another tool of Satan, knowing our people. And it could be for any reason. It could be for only, Elder Lawyer, I just don't like you.
Mm-hmm.
It could be for that. And this is what the powers that be from one generation to another banks on. They bank on what? They're going to always be some people amongst these people who will give them up to us. For no other reason. Even if the people stand for, even if this person or these people stand for their cause, they'll still give their people up. And how do they know this? Hey, they did it to the man who came to die for their sins. And if they can do this to Christ, we can get any of them at any time. There's always going to be some people amongst these people, be it a woman, be it other people who don't like it, who just don't like the person, who will be willing to lie to see the downfall of that individual. I'm using Christ as an example. Right? But this is done on every level. They don't just do it to those who are in righteousness following the church or whatever the case is, who are seeking to help people. Satan plans to do this to people who are in the world that one day may have the opportunity with their influence. One day may change course and align themselves with that God who promised to imprison him. So Satan be looking well ahead before us. I'm going to tell you this right now. He looks at what you can become and fears that. I'm going to show y'all some examples of that. Right? So Christ, they put false witnesses and threw him into prison. The man who came to free our people. Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir.
Now let's get the disciples now. Let's get the disciples. Acts 5.
Yes, sir.
Acts 5, verse 17. Let's get there. Let me get it here in the book of Acts. Let's read that.
Yes, sir. Acts 5 and 17. Then the high priest rose up, and all they that were with him, which is the sect of the Sadducees, and were filled with indignation, and laid their hands on the apostles, and put them in the common prison.
And put them where?
in the common prison.
And put the disciples even after Christ was crucified and resurrected. Then they took their aim towards who? The disciples, the apostles, and put them in a common prison. Read.
19. But the angel of the Lord by night opened the prison doors and brought them forth and said, Go stand and speak in the temple to the people all the words of this life.
See, but this is what, folks, this is what the powers that be cannot control. The angels who are amongst us. And I'm putting this out there for those who stand in righteousness to know that if you are with Christ in the Almighty to do his will, that there is a way to where the angels can move you out of that circumstance and have you operate on the outside of those prisons, and that's beyond their power. There's nothing the world powers can do about it. The angels are everywhere. See? They can look like anyone. That's why it says be careful when we entertain strangers, because some have entertained what? Angels unawares. They're with us. And see, this power, the world powers have no control over. An example of what's going to be working in the earth to get us from one place to the next when everything is said and done. So even if you do good, they're going to set laws in place that would deem you criminal. Folks, they'll just make it up as it go along. They'll just make up rules to criminalize us. Okay, they did it to the disciples. They did it to Christ. Even John on the Isle of Patmos. Let's go to John real quick, Elder Lawya. John, in Revelation, the 1st chapter. Let's read it. Revelation 1:1.
Revelation 1 verse 1. The revelation of Yeshua Mashiach, which God gave unto him to show unto his servants the things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John.
Unto his servant John, read.
Who bear record of the word of God and of the testimony of Yeshua Mashiach and of all the things that he saw.
And all the things he saw. Read.
Blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand.
Read.
John to the 7 churches which are in Asia, grace be unto you, and peace from him which is, and which was, and which is to come, and from the 7 spirits which are before his throne.
The 7 spirits who are who? The 7 archangels who are before the throne of God. Folks, they're with us. Read.
5. And from Yeshua Mashiach, or Jesus Christ, who is the faithful witness and the first begotten of the dead, and the prince of the kings of the earth, unto him that loved us and washed us from our sins in his own blood.
Come on.
And have made us kings and priests unto God and his Father, to be glory and dominion forever and ever. Amen.
Come on.
Behold, he cometh with the clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him. And all the kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, Amen. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, saith the Lord, which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty.
And
Verse
the
9.
Almighty. Now read.
I, John, who also am your brother and companion in tribulation.
So John
and
is
in the
saying
kingdom.
what? Because he had to write letters to the 7 churches. That's where you get the concept, a letter in the bottle, from. Out there. I, John, who also am your brother and companion in tribulation. Now, who was giving our people pain and tribulation during John's time? The Romans. Read. Edomites. Read.
And of the kingdom and patience of Yeshua Mashiach, which is in the isle that is called Patmos, for the word of God and for the testimony of Yeshua Mashiach.
So why was John exiled to the Isle of Patmos? Well, for teaching the word of God. The word of God, which is what? The kingdom. Teaching Israel, the lost sheep, that the kingdom is at hand, is a threat to the empire, as well as the God the empire Rome serves, who is Satan. See? The true gospel, the true teachings, not this mess they're teaching in the Western world. That's not the gospel of Christ. Teaching what? The resurrection of the children of Israel to judge the earth again as heirs to the throne on earth is a threat to the empire. This is why John was exiled to the Isle of Patmos. The Romans didn't want to kill him because they didn't want to make him a martyr. The more they killed, starting with Christ, the more people converted into this truth. So they said, you know what? We're not going to kill him because they'll only multiply. So they did what? They moved John to the Isle of Patmos. And this is where Christ revealed everything to him concerning end times. Even how they'll use prisons against our people at the very end of the tribulation. Elder Lawyer, let's go to Revelations 2 and 9. You on mute, Elder.
Yes, sir, Salakia. Revelation 2 and 9. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan.
Oh, now here we go now. Christ says, listen, he sold John on the Isle of Patmos. The churches understood this. And that spirit that was given to John, Peter, the 12 apostles, would make up the doctrine that would free God's people in the earth until Christ returns. See? It will be the true doctrine to quantify everything, to why geopolitically things are going down in the earth that most don't understand. Well, with the Bible and the information given to John, we would understand everything. Why there's false accusations out of anywhere. Right? Why were prisons established as a political tool against the children of God? It's all in the Bible, folks. Because he says first, he needed to identify who? I know thy works, Israel, and tribulation. I know the hell you're going through on earth. And poverty. I know they have systematically put you in an impoverished state. You know why? Because if you are under poverty, brothers and sisters, that breeds criminality. See? For the sake of self-preservation, you'll do anything to survive. Well, they have systematically set that up so that now they can criminalize us for surviving. See? So Christ says, I know the circumstances they have put you into. You were born into. You've been born into a dog-eat-dog world. But don't give up. Because what? Read.
But thou art rich.
But thou art rich. Don't make the devil, don't let the devil make you believe you are how they present you. Don't ever feel bad about who you are. I see you for who you are. The impoverished state was created so that Esau can measure his greatness off of the poverty he created for us. If there was an even playing field untouched by Edomites, we would leave them in the dust, and they know it. So they have to harm our children and make them sick so that they don't grow on par to become greater and stronger than their children. See? They have to keep us sick, diseased, impoverished, so that they can measure their artificial greatness off of the impoverished state they've created for us. And Christ is saying, listen, but you're rich. What's in you, Israel? All the nations of the earth envy. Because let me tell you, with everything stacked against us, they still can't compete. These people must be the children of God. And he says, I know what?
And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews.
The blasphemy of them which say they are Jews. Now, you know this couldn't be talking about us because we forgot that we were the Israelites. We weren't telling people that we were Jews. So now Christ, from the prophecies out of this ancient book, is calling them out today. Christ speaks. You want to know who's behind the prison complex? I know the blasphemy of them which say they are what?
Are Jews and are not.
So Christ is, but Christ now is triangulating and directing everyone to a particular faction the whole world understands exist. If you want to know who's keeping this satanic plan to destroy God's people together and imprison God's people, the one who was prophesied to be in prison in the pit, he have a people. And they are what?
But are the synagogue of Satan.
They're worshiping in synagogues or Satan's temples. Christ is pointing them out where they're working, but yet playing us close. And I use some of the examples. You see a lot of these bogus charges that are being placed particularly on black men, where it isn't a criminal case, because if it was criminal, they would actually prosecute a criminal case. They found a loophole to claim, well, I'm just going to do a civil case to get what? Financial compensation.
Right.
Bogus. If it's criminal, you should be able to charge someone for their crime. But Esau mixes it up as it goes. right? They make it up as it goes. And this is not, folks, this is not to defend anyone in the world that's under scrutiny. I'm just showing you. Okay? Right now they're dealing with P. Diddy. Are they charging him for dragging Cassie through the hallway, which was heinous? That I would never excuse a man for putting his hand on a woman. But are they criminally charging him for dragging Cassie through a hotel corridor? Or are they charging him on a one-man RICO charge? And why they can do it? Because our people buy into it.
Mm-hmm.
What person 10, 15 years ago or 20 years ago didn't do something they are ashamed of, including white people? But we're never free from our past. See? Even things that you repented from are no longer doing, they can bring up right now and charge as if you did it yesterday. And not criminally. Not criminally. They would just say, we'll use a civil charge and get a synagogue of Satan, an ambulance chaser, to now just point out each black man that they can actually compromise to take finances that would normally go to their children. A no good ambulance chaser who didn't work for anything, wait at the end of a black man's work to take all the wealth for his children. And this guy couldn't create or do anything for himself. A loser with a law degree will take his position, point to black men of influence, and take any money that would go to their children, while our people just sit back and just accept it. And then that people ask me why I didn't speak on Shannon Sharpe thing. Right? Somebody who's allegedly a known OnlyFans girl, an Edomite. They sent them in just like in the Roman Empire. Allegedly out there secretly selling herself, only to be seen and revered to everybody as this young girl whose frontal lobe haven't been developed yet. It was developed enough for her to be on OnlyFans, finding older men to get money from. And you notice who's always the focal point to be destroyed? The man. And the woman becomes a byproduct that just goes away. Because that was the target the whole time. And I'm going to put this out there. I wasn't going to talk about it. I'm going to probably make that a Patreon conversation or something I'll come on YouTube with a couple of seconds to talk about it. But the reason why Shannon Sharpe is a threat and have been a threat, regardless of his sexual proclivities, whatever those are, that's between him, whatever that case is. I'm not talking about that piece of it. Okay? People shouldn't be out there being whoremongers. That comes without question. But let me tell y'all something. The reason why they got in front of him is after they fired him, he showed an example that most fear. He got an interview that broke the internet. DJ Vlad cannot compete. The synagogue of Satan. See? On top of that, He got hired back at ESPN. And check out what he did above all. He pulled another brother up, Ocho Cinco, with Nightcat, where they get in front of all of the sports news before mainstream media does. And no one can compete with him, including mainstream media. He opened a lane to where even Stephen A. Smith was able to pivot to a podcast so that now he can flex in case ESPN try to get rid of him. Something that's controlled exclusively by the people who created it. And Esau, the synagogue of Satan, isn't in any position to compromise and or steal it like they used to do when it comes to our music and God-given artistry. See? That's how it is. It's a threat because what's in us is rich. We can do anything without the help of Esau. Esau needs us, not the other way around. And they don't want that example out there for men who wouldn't do some of the things they're being claimed for. See? They don't want people to think that we can actually create anything of ourselves and become prosperous outside of their help. That's the wrong message to send to young black men they're trying to destroy. See? Read it again, Elder Lawya. Let's read it again, Elder Lawya.
Revelation 2, verse number 9.
So another thing. Don't y'all ever come to me about some young girl and all this other crap. When you got these adults out there doing all types of stuff and you know what they're doing. Try to make this spirit of harlotry as an innocent young girl. I don't ever want to hear that. What are you doing with that young girl? Come on now. Y'all know what young girls are doing at 19. Everybody try to play dumb out there. And at the end of the day, who do you remember? You remember the black man that was taken down. That's what you remember. And again, I'm not excusing his looseness. Okay, I'm not excusing that. But hold up. That's at the expense of a man who have worked and got it from the dirt himself. That's at the expense of all the money that would be given to his children. I need y'all to think about that, folks. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to show the hypocrisy of this. White old men have been traveling this earth, going to Africa, Jamaica, they're doing it right now, and all these other places with young girls online, and not once have I heard any pushback for decades concerning what we all know exists. It seems like people are silent when they see white people do it. White men have been doing this for ages, and you know what? They're celebrated with it. Ready, Elder Lawya?
Yes, sir.
I need you to go back and read that again.
Yes, sir. Revelation 2 and 9. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich.
Read.
And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan.
But are the synagogue of Satan. If they don't have anything on you, they will do what? They'll go into your past, like Bill Cosby and others, and find some old, scorned women who need what? Who need an opportunity to come up financially.
Mm-hmm.
Who are destitute without nothing after squandering their lives in the business, and now they're old and scorned with nothing to retire on. The synagogue of Satan will find these people and cut a deal with them. And cut a deal. And say, listen, only thing I need you to do is bring the accusation. Here's a little cut from the beginning. Just bring the accusation. We'll take it from there. See? I know thy works in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy, what?
Of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan.
And what would be their key weaponry against the children of God? Read the 10th verse.
Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison.
The devil shall cast some of you into prison. That's his judgment. Now they're using the synagogue of Satan to make what? Laws that imprison the children of Israel. Read.
Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried. And ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life.
I will give thee a crown of life. What it means, tribulation 10 days. Well, if you were in a Roman prison for 10 days, they would put you on the rack. They would torture you. They would do all things. And very few people made it past 10 days in their prison when you was up for torture. See? Just go through it. I got you. Right? He that have an ear, let him hear. Read
But
it.
the Spirit saith unto the churches, he that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second death.
He that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second death. So let them put claims on us. Let them always shape the law against the children of God. But at the end of the day, if we overcome, we shall not be hurt of the second death, because we'll be in the first resurrection. The second death is where Satan and the angels who are bound will be judged. So now you understand the concept of prison and how it's always directed towards us for some reason. But yet they're not doing anything to solve the poverty amongst our people. Think about that. Everyone is more important than our people. People from other countries, Ukrainians, illegals, people who didn't fight for the country, they got billions of them coming in first day. But nothing for us. They don't want to solve the poverty because poverty is a social tool they can use indirectly to destroy the awakening. See? Indirectly, they can destroy the awakening. How do you cut off people? Especially Esau, who's waging war. Well, the sure way of cutting off an enemy is to make sure you cut off their treasury first. Treasury is what's used to pay mercenaries, those who would work for you. So you cut off the treasury first. Why do you think they're coming against our black men, not seeking to criminally charge them, but yet use civil charges? Well, money can be used as a treasury to help your people. Diddy was doing anything he wanted and they let him go. No soon as he started talking about our people, setting up a political party that can help us in particular against regentrification, now and all of a sudden, a tape comes up that they've been holding in the vault allegedly for decades, for over a decade. See how it works? One man Rico. R. Kelly. A charge he beat decades ago. They bring it up like it just happened on a one-man Rico charge. When he began to ask, where's my royalties from all the songs I've made? Not just with my songs, the songs I wrote for Celine Dion, Michael Jackson. Where's my royalties? And all of a sudden they bring up a charge as if it happened today. A one-man Rico. See how it works? And what they truly fear is that once you begin to have an understanding of what you're worth, you're going to run into this awakening, because the majority of churches in the Western world are finished. And the only true ministry that is impacting the earth right now is our people who know we're Israel, and they know it. That's what they fear. Now, fair use for educational purposes only. Fair use. So this is why we have the present what? Industrial. Prison industrial complex. Fair use for educational purposes only. Now they're going to tell you outright what their plans were. They've always said it. Fair use.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no secret is revealed. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
The last speech, brothers and sisters, JFK, before being assassinated. And what did he say? That he's going to dismantle the CIA and its connection to the country Israel. Now, you know they wasn't going to let him get in the way of that. Okay, understand the influence our people were having during the civil rights movement, with the whole earth watching. On top of that, how are they going to go to war with our brothers in Vietnam? And these are Israelites who went into Vietnam from the 10 tribes. How would they deal with this war? Right? How could they not have a war that would minimize the strength of the black man who was rising politically in the 60s? JFK wasn't going to take our men to war. That would leave our women without men. See? So they had to get rid of them because they had a war plan. And Lyndon B. Johnson, no sooner as he got in position, declared war on Vietnam and sending all the strong men who were politically charged out of the civil rights movement into war. And now our women had to depend on welfare because the strong men were overseas fighting a war that they had nothing to do about against their own people. What did they do? They even locked up Muhammad Ali and took 3 prime years from him because he decided not to fight in a war against the Viet Congs. Prison have always been a political tool against the righteous. Check this out. Eisenhower fell. This is Eisenhower's farewell address before he left office.
A vital element in keeping the peace is our military establishment. Our arms must be mighty, ready for instant action, so that no potential aggressor may be tempted to risk his own destruction. Our military organization today bears little relation to that known of any of my predecessors in peacetime, or indeed by the fighting men of World War II or Korea. Until the latest of our world conflicts, the United States had no armaments industry. American makers of plowshares could, with time and as required, make swords as well. But we can no longer risk emergency improvisation of national defense. We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. Added to this, 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. We annually spend on military security alone more than the net income of all United States corporations. Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
So he warned of what? The military industrial complex. Now, they took 3 years from Muhammad Ali during the time where he didn't want to actually fight in the Vietnam War. And out of nowhere, there was another young man, a mighty young man who became the youngest heavyweight boxer, had influence in the United States and beyond, by the name of Mike Tyson. took 3 years of his prime because they claimed he was becoming bigger than his trainer. You notice how they give all the credit of a strong black man who's gifted by God to Costamato? If Costamato, an Italian trainer, could have made a Mike Tyson before Mike Tyson, he would have created one. But they always find themselves in close proximity to something great the Most High sent in the earth, an anomaly. And then when you do the research on Costamato, he was into all types of alleged occult type ideologies and mysticism, as if they know when they have attached themselves to something greater than what's currently on earth. And folks, anybody seen Mike Tyson in his prime understood that there's no man that could have beaten him in the ring. See, that's why Holyfield even ran from Tyson before the 3-year sentence. See? Holyfield knew that he could beat the post-prison Tyson. He was smart. But guess who could beat Tyson? The women who were sent. Broke him down. And he was a shell of himself. No one right now, unless they Google it, can actually tell us the woman who claimed that she was violated going to his hotel 3 a.m. because she really wasn't the focus. It was getting a man with influence, a black man out of position, who became bigger than Costamato. So now the governments, the synagogue of Satan, have to show him and put him in his place. We've taken you out of the poverty we created for you, and we can always throw you right back in. Fair use. Fair use. Mike Tyson in prison. Listen to this.
Crime bill, there's lots of things going on, and one of the things being proposed is stopping gymnasiums in prison. That exercise equipment and the like is a plus. It shouldn't be given to a convict.
Listen, you must understand. Like I said, this is let's look. For instance, I have a class that I go to. It's economics class, right? And in this class, let me see, is it economics or is it government? But regardless. And it shows the 3 systems. It shows the Japanese system, it shows the German system, and it shows the American system. And talk about preschool kids, when kids get out of high school and they look for a job. They have contracts, Japanese people, with the government. They have a contract with Mitsubishi and Toyota and Honda have contracts with the school. The highest, the smartest students are guaranteed jobs. And sometimes they come to the principal and say, come on, we need more students. And he's negotiating students for jobs. As if it's like a deal. We're negotiating. Well, no, you can't get him. No, we're not going to give, we got to have that many students unless you have to guarantee more jobs, and then we could skip some up. But here, big business, and in Japan, the parents are involved with the education, what school they go to, what job they get, and it's just an involved environment. In America, big business is prisons. They make rules for prisons, and when of course they're not going to let a person. Now they're trying to stop, I believe, education in prison as well. So they're going to get a prisoner here. They're going to get him adapted to this circumstance. Then when he go back in society, he won't be able to cope. So he has to come back to the revolving door situation.
And you think they want him to come back?
Oh, it's fine. At $40,000 a year, $30,000 a year, do you think you would like? Say someone has 30 years, and you give him, and you get $30,000 a year, and if that's over $1 million, $1.5 million, so to speak. And what do you think? You think the government's going to give that up?
Wouldn't you say a gym is necessary, though? I mean, just basic health.
There's nothing necessary but God. Yeah, I mean, they may think they need it from time and time, but there's nothing necessary. There's nothing that you need.
Now, that's deep what he brought out, Elder Lawyer. I don't know if you heard it clearly, but this is why
Yes, sir, I heard it. Yes, sir.
This is why they had to put Mike Tyson in his place. And that's why I particularly advise those who have never left America to travel and go see other cultures. One thing about Mike Tyson is that he traveled the world and he became well studied. And he started to see the hypocrisy of what he thought was the greatest empire on earth. Well, a great empire would treat its citizens and people who built the country better. So he was able to compare our culture and how America treat us in comparison to other countries who are deemed less than in comparison to America. For example, he used the example when the Japanese have children in school, automatically there's a contract with their schools with the Mitsubishi and top corporations in the country, where they're jockeying for the best talent while the child is still in school, and they come out of school and transfer right into those multi-billion-dollar companies. And he says, but America's contract when it comes to our people is with the prisons. It's with the prisons. So here it is, Japan and other countries have emboldened their children and showed an interest in them to invest in them right out of school. But the negotiation here in America is to imprison the black man straight out of school. And you have to travel to understand what an anomaly America has become with the prison complex. It's a business. And it comes around full circle. Even years ago, Jay-Z allegedly came out and stated that, it was stated that once they were going to change the hip hop music to promote criminality and to promote what? Destroying the community, that immediately they claimed that Jay-Z began to invest in the prisons that were getting built in the United States. Not realizing that one day, based on the long history we see of finding what people have done decades ago, that they would threaten him with those same prisons one day. And that same ambulance chaser that now is after Shannon Sharp, he just got off of coming after who? Jay-Z not too long ago. Right? This is systematic, folks, the synagogue of Satan, where someone is seeking to put all these charges on black people whom they can't control. And guess what? That prison industrial complex was quantified in a couple of seconds with Mike Tyson. Everyone knew back then. Elder Lawyer, everyone knew that thing with Mike Tyson and that girl was a sham. Even sisters were saying back then, you don't go to Mike Tyson's room 2 a.m. to play Scrabble.
Right.
Even women were saying it back then. And all she had to do was cry and play victim. That's all she had to do. No different than Potiphar's wife that we went over early in Genesis. And guess what? She disappears 3 years of his prime life, like Muhammad Ali, taken away just by planting a woman in a room. And now here we are at the end of it. I told people years ago, Elder, that whatever they do, understand it's an indirect attack on us. I said it when it comes to terrorism. They was talking about Muslim jihadists. Then they switched it out from that to Israel, Israelites being terrorists. I told people it was going to happen before YouTube was a thing on the streets. And when they bring the immigrants in, I told you whatever laws they place for immigrants aren't for the illegal immigrants at the end of it. It'll start off with the immigrants, but then they'll cycle the immigrants out and now do what? Use the laws on the books for the intended target, the people that they wanted to target from the beginning. That's how Esau works. Even when it came to COVID and all that happened there, I said, I don't care if it comes from Wuhan, China. At the end of the day, they're going to be talking about why black people aren't involved in getting it first. No matter what they say, folks out there, it's not the initial claim. They want you to look in one way so that you don't deem yourself a target. Any rule that they put on the books where our people are in number, the laws are to do what? Are to come against the children of Israel and to eventually put them into prison. So they always need a buffer story to feign innocence. Oh no, this is not, let me show y'all here. So it leads us to where we are right now. Fair use for educational purposes only. Fair use.
In the United States, President Donald Trump has come up with a bizarre idea to reduce crime: shipping repeat offenders to a foreign land. US President Donald Trump now suggests that American criminals who are repeat offenders could be sent abroad for imprisonment. In what could be described as a modern-day penal colony, Trump said that the US could pay a small fee to foreign countries to imprison such individuals. Speaking in Miami, Trump billed the idea as a cost-saving measure, and he said he is going to get the approval for such a plan in Washington, D.C. Trump said that by doing so, federal government would save a significant amount of money in maintaining U.S. jails as well as private prisons. The idea to imprison American convicts abroad was pitched as separate from efforts that are underway now to deport illegal immigrants. The idea of imprisoning criminals abroad comes amid Trump's administration's efforts to cut the federal budget. In 2024, the budget for the U.S. federal prison system was $8,815 million. It was the largest allocation within the Department of Justice. Now, the budget increase came to cover the rising healthcare costs for prisoners, as well as their daily living expenses. The U.S. prison system also suffers from chronic staffing shortages. The Trump administration has created a Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, to cut the federal budget. Led by tech tycoon Elon Musk, the department already boasts of saving more than $560 million in government spending. Now, this came by slashing programs, contracts, as well as leases. And Trump claims that imprisoning U.S. convicts abroad, apart from saving the government money, will also discourage crime in the country. Experts say that Trump's idea to save money and funds for U.S. prisons is derived from Imperial Britain. In the early 18th century, Britain sent convicts to the American colonies, a trade which ended with the start of the American Revolution in 1775. Britain soon began searching for alternatives of penal colonies and landed on Australia as the next penal colony. However, in the present day and age, the idea to imprison criminals abroad is often seen as contrary to the notion of sovereignty of individual nation-states. It is not clear what inspired Trump to float the idea of temporarily exiling the U.S. citizens, So far, there is no evidence to support Trump's claim that such an idea could reduce crime. The question remains, how far is Trump ready to go to supposedly save federal funds?
From breaking news.
Right? So I told you all, right? Whatever laws they put on the books, when the Democrats flooded the United States with immigrants, it wasn't for the sheer reasons they claim. Right? It was some that will be used for servants who are still here. But it was also to put some criminal laws on the books to come against us. See? You let the criminals do whatever they need to do. Don't lock them up. And now the Americans are saying put something on the books. Well, guess what? Now what's on the books is if you are a repeat offender, right? They can now outsource that prison complex that started in America. See? They can now send prisoners to other countries who are American. Remember the 3-strike thing they did with us? They can make it up as it goes along. So the same way we had jobs in the United States, and now when you pick up the phone to call customer service, it picks up in who? In India or another poor country that they've made poor? Well, they're going to outsource this also. Prison labor gifted to the other countries for their prisons, for repeat offenders. Right? Look, listen. This is the NPR. Trump says the U.S. will send the worst criminal illegal aliens to Guantanamo Bay. Now, remember Guantanamo Bay? It was a place that was utilized during the Bush administration when they brought back so-called Iraqis and others, where they were doing all types of heinous sexual acts to prisoners. Well, under the Patriot Act, it's a place for terrorists. But then under the Patriot Act, it also applies to domestic terrorists. See? So they use illegal here. But if you put something on the books within the country, it no longer applies to illegals. It applies to the people who are citizens of that country. Elder Lawya, let's end it with Revelations 2 and 9. Let's read it.
Yes, sir. Revelation 2 and 9.
Revelations 2 and 9. Read it.
I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich.
I know thy works, tribulation, and poverty, but thou art rich. Read.
And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews, and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan.
Come on.
Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life.
And I will give thee a crown of life.
The U.S. has sent hundreds of mostly Venezuelan migrants to be held without trial at this mega prison in El Salvador. It's known as CCOT, acronym for Terrorism Confinement Center in Spanish. The prison opened in February 2023 as part of Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele's highly popular hardline security policy, which has resulted in a sharp drop in homicides. El Salvador claims it is Latin America's biggest, with capacity for 40,000 inmates. It stretches across 57 acres and is located in an isolated rural region east of the capital, San Salvador. Bukele has said the prison cost $115 million to develop and equip. Video taken from inside the facility often shows prisoners tightly packed together with their heads shaved. The mega prison doesn't have an outdoor recreational area and won't allow family visits. A September 2024 report from the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights expressed concerns about overcrowding. It cited a study that found CCOT inmates had an average of 6.45 square feet of space, which is below international standards. Bukele declared a state of emergency in 2022 that he said was needed to combat the country's notorious gangs and crime rate. It remains in effect, and some 84,000 people have been arrested. This includes alleged members of El Salvador's Mara Salvatrucha, or MS-13 gang, and its rival, Barrio 18. But human rights organizations have criticized El Salvador's prisons, and especially CCOT. They've reported human rights violations like torture, inmate deaths, and mass trials. During a visit from U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio in February, Bukele offered to incarcerate criminals deported from the U.S. in the mega prison.
He has agreed to accept for deportation.
The Trump administration first deported 261 people to El Salvador on March 15th. For 137 of them, the U.S. government justified the move under the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, saying the men were members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, but providing few details about their cases.
Now, how does this come into us, Elder Lawya? You notice that they have something on the books concerning the gang activity. They had, right? They had a migration into California and in the West Coast of all these gang members that became what? Acclimated within society under the black and brown alliances that we see under minority through the United States Code of identifying ethnicities. But if you add them into the black and brown ethnicity circle, that includes us. See? So now, if someone is loosely affiliated with a Blood or a Crip, or they can claim that there's laws where they're a part of a gang, then they can be shipped out under these particular charges that are on the books, as if they came from Mexico or another country. Mm-hmm. See that? And that's why we should have never went with that black and brown coalition, because when they sent in criminality to go to be a part of that, so that they can include us to begin to ship our people out. See this? Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison. So I'm going to tell people right now, find the Most High, follow God's law, and get under Christ's hedge. That'll be our only protection. If you got tats, that's connected to a known criminal organization, and you are an American citizen, they can ship you outside of the border. Right? So if you got tats that's connected to an organization, they can now deem you a part of what? That's right, a criminal gang element that they have prisons for. Okay? They can just do it outright. Don't forget, RICO charges started on those who were doing drugs in South America. Only for them to switch RICO charges for black men who have sexual exploits with women who get upset. You see how they use the illegal from somewhere else to criminalize us here? So the only way a man, right, to some degree, can buy some time without them pressing up upon us is to follow God's law and be protected through this. But still, at the end of it, they're going to still try to do things, Elder Lawya, through false accusations if they can't get people that way.
Right.
Stay prayed up, stay vigilant, and understand any laws that they're putting on the books, including Donald Trump. Those laws are being framed. Those laws are being framed to catch us up. All right. That concludes our lesson. I'm going to make one more announcement, but I will be going into this coming Wednesday, and we need to talk about this. Right? Out of nowhere, a statue was erected, Elder Lawya, in Times Square showing a sister. Right? But, you know, it's okay to have a statue of a sister. But they are intentionally promoting the negative stereotype for a purpose. Right? We're going to talk about this discourse about them putting a sister in the middle of Times Square, but a particular archetype of a sister, and why that's needed to weaponize an image within the United States. Is leaving women, they have a plan to leave women, like I said a long time ago, without protection. Okay? Also, now that they don't have any protection, what's going on? I'm going to go into Jordan Henning's double life, where they would separate our women to run into the arms of other people, and these people would be sexual deviants to destroy what's left of our sisters.
Henning also had to listen to a very powerful...
He's a guy who from the military started crying, saying that he was a victim and only was almost identifying. I mean, he was protecting himself from the aggressive woman. From the aggressive woman, he had to protect himself. Crying at the mercy of the court as a victim after putting lead into this sister. But because of the image that we are allowing to continue to perpetuate, now Esau is getting what? Lenient judgments. Because of the stereotype we are allowing men and women, sisters in particular, holding on to this independent, and I'm strong and all that. Well, now when a white man do a crime, he can say, well, I was intimidated by this woman, and I had to defend myself.
Right.
Leaving our sisters without any defense. And I'm going to be going over this. I don't know. It's so horrible. I may have to do this on Patreon. This guy was living a double life, doing all types of stuff online, a sexual deviant. And this sister, sister was online telling everybody on how good of a man he was and how he's this and he's that. And this dude was, not even allegedly, it came out in the court papers. He was dealing with all types of gay exploits with different men and all of this while living a double life with this sister. And to keep her image intact, what she was promoting for the world, she was telling everybody out there, this guy is the perfect guy. But at night, this is what she had to deal with. And when she couldn't take it no more, this guy took her out while the children were upstairs. I'm going to talk about that next week. And there's a lot I want to talk about. There's no protection. They're pulling everything from our women. They're going to force them to pay their debt. There's no men to save them. And even the people they run to are only going to use that negative exterior. They're going to use that to treat them less than. And if they try to buck up, Esau isn't playing. So judgment is on the men and the women. Folks, we're living in what? The final tribulation. And the only refuge is the Most High. I'll be talking about that next week. HistoryTimes.org. The next particular academy will be the Academies Above All. We're cycling out of summer lessons, bringing in new lessons from Babylon, Rome to America. Be there. May the Most High be with you. Stay prayed up, sin not. Stay right here with the Gathered of Christ Church where we connect the dots for you. With that, have a pleasant, blessed Sabbath. We're on our way to Zion. Have a pleasant Sabbath. Shalom.
I'm on my knees, laying my life on the line. I'm begging, please, please don't let me fall. Give me the strength. Place my feet, guide my path, show me